So I think there are a couple of ways that folklore and resistance are linked. Definitely folklore conveys narratives of resistance. So there are different storytelling genres will chronicle like times when people successfully resisted dictators, autocrats, things like that from the past. Fairy tales, we don't tend to see that too much. We see what fairy tale scholar Jack Zipes calls might is right. What does the underdog do in the fairy tale? They marry into the royal family and get rich. It's not the only outcome, but it's a pretty common one. So yeah, so we do see some narrative depictions of resistance that can, help with hope, optimism, and things like that. One of the ways that folklore sort of helps with resistance is a concept called coding. And this is like not narrative coding. It's a form of symbolic code switching, essentially. So if you are part of a minoritized or oppressed group, but you also face publicly and so on, you will use coding to hide from the mainstream or dominant group what your true intentions or identity are, but reveal it. And so the classic example is like the hanky code that gay men would use to advertise sexual preferences without being like, I'm gay. But there's a whole underground knowledge of like this color handkerchief in this location means I'm looking for this kind of partner or this kind of experience. So that's pretty common. Patches, pins, things like that. Side shaves. There are lots of ways that people can use body art and other just like very subtle signals that within an in-group community, people will recognize and get the right message. There's been a little bit of scholarship on how, for example, the Underground Railroad would use things like songs, quilts, images, like very subtle things to communicate about relevant information to enslaved people who were trying to get away without the dominant culture necessarily realize what was going on.